You're listening to the Homeownership podcast by Momentum Realty, real estate talk for buying, selling, and owning property.
Hey guys, Sean Patrick Maloney here, broker owner of Momentum Realty, located in Hanover, Massachusetts. Welcome to episode 23, Sell Your Home This Summer. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me today. One of the topics I wanted to talk about today was selling your home during the summertime. It's a very common question we get is, when is the best time to list a home? Is it the spring? Is it the fall? Is it the summer? Is it the winter? Should I do it around the holidays? We get a million different questions, and it's kind of strange that everyone wants to put their home on at the same time, because if you know anything about supply and demand, it's not exactly the best idea to join in with a huge supply. So by following when everyone else is listing, it's not always the best idea. But specifically, let's talk about summer listing. So one of the first things I want you to think about is you really want to get your home on before August 1st when you're trying to do a summer listing. If you're going to not get it on by August 1st, you can put it on anytime, but ultimately you might miss one important factor is if you get it on before then, chances are by the time you get on the market, you get a buyer into the spot, they'll actually be able to close in time for their kids to make it to the school system. So that is if you're selling something that's kind of a kid-friendly home or things like that. Obviously in real estate, due to the laws, we're not allowed to just sell a home as a family home, but we all know what a kid-friendly home is. A multi-bedroom home and things like that is going to obviously warrant more often than not a family type of relationship moving in there. So when you're thinking about selling one of these larger homes and you're trying to get that family in there, it's most common to want to try to get it in before the school year starts. Of course, you also have aligning yourself with the school year break, and you have align yourself with the springtime or the change of market. Those all work, but right now, talking about summer, trying to get in before August 1st is big. Mid-July is the best time to get in there. That way there's a sense of urgency. Whenever there's a sense of urgency, people are willing to pay more for something. So by putting yourself out there right on that mid-July mark, people that are looking that haven't yet found the one are now making exceptions. They're starting to break rules that they had in their head of what they want because they need to get their children into that school system that they're looking to get into by that time. So sometimes it makes them make a little bit of a irrational decision as far as cost-wise and can mean a few more dollars in a seller's pocket. Another nice thing about selling during the summertime is it's great because you can be on vacation at that time of the year. Quite often your home will be sitting vacant because you're away, and it's easiest to show the home. You only got to clean it once right before you go, and then you can tell the list agent, hey, we're going to be on vacation for this amount of time, and that way the agent cannot have a 24-hour notice thing or anything like that. You won't be missing any showings, and again, you won't have to clean multiple times, which can make a big difference overall, especially if you're living in the house of multiple people and you're constantly having to get everything ready. But when you are showing the house in the summertime, you want to think about a few different things. One of them is watering the lawn. At the end of the day, a lot of people forget about the word curb appeal. So curb appeal is enormously important. To get people out of the car and into the house takes some work. And also, as you know in the world, we all judge a book by its cover. We're told by our parents growing up, don't judge people. We're told by other people, don't judge things that you don't know. Your parents tell you when you're going to eat something new, make sure to try it and give it an honest opinion and everything. Well, the reality is it never ends up working out that way. So when your house is looking bad on the outside, people tend to already have a bad taste in their mouth before they go to the inside. So watering the lawn during the summertime, making sure the bushes are trimmed, making sure that the mulch is weeded and the edging is done on your beds. And then also, if you get the opportunity, putting some extra flowers in, planting some extra plants around, maybe having some potted plants around. But the one thing to remember is don't put plants in, like potted plants and things, if you're just going to let them go, because then it looks worse than having nothing at all. I've seen that in many cases where they do window boxes and they don't water them. Now they have dead window boxes. So you're better off to not have window boxes than to have dead window boxes. So making sure that you're watering the lawn, you're taking care of the place, that's going to get people in. Make sure you keep the lawn cut on the regular. One of the other nice things about outside curb appeal wise is if you have a boat or you have an RV or a trailer or any of these large items that kind of look awkward in the driveway or yard, it's a good time of the year where they may be out of the yard. You have your boat down at the marina instead of in the backyard. Things like that might show the house a little bit better. And if you don't have that ability, maybe you can reach out to a family, loved one, friend, whatever works out, and get that boat out of the yard, get that RV out of there, and that way there people can see your property without those things. Because during the summer, one of the things that's going to happen is the outdoor portion of the showing is actually going to go longer than it normally does. A lot of times in the winter, we quickly scoot our way through the snow. We look around the house. We try to take a quick peek at the roof, try to take a quick peek at the siding, things like that. But not many people are out there interested in what's going on in the patio. Whereas in the summertime, when we have everything going on, a lot of people spend a lot more time in the outdoors. So that brings up kind of the next point. If you have summer areas like a grill and you have a nice patio, you have an outdoor kitchen, you have a pool area, you have any of those outdoor living spaces, you really want to stage those. Those are places where you kind of want to sell the dream. You have them there during the summer. They're thinking, wow, it's a really hot day. If there's a pool out there, you want them to think, I'd like to swim in that pool. I've gone to houses that are on the market that actually have green pools, and it's like, when you look at that, nobody wants to swim in a swamp. And also, as you know, they're buying something used, and even though they can clean it, potentially it just kind of looks like a gross pool. So really make sure that even if it's you hire a pool guy or whatever, same thing with the lawn. If you're not cutting it, hire in a service, but make sure that those outdoor living spaces are set up to live, because these are times, like I said, during the summer, we're out there on the showing, we're spending a lot of time in the backyard, and we want them to think about how they'd stay there. And, when they're out there, if there's a couch or some other things, they maybe have children with them and stuff, you may end up seeing them sit down for a minute, just kind of get the vibe of the area. One great one that always is a big thing for the people to talk about would be hammocks. Hammocks just are like a relaxation spot. So if you have a nice shady spot in the yard and you can set up a hammock there to give the person the idea of relaxing in the backyard. Because at the end of the day, when we buy a house, we want to think about how are we going to enjoy the home. Like, that's one of the things I think a lot of people are concerned with living, like the actual living in the house, but it's kind of the lifestyle of a house that really sells it. If you're down by the water, people don't buy a house by the water because they just think that it's going to be cool to be by the water. They know there's some negatives involved as well there. But what they think about is their lifestyle, that they're going to be able to go down to the water every day and they're going to use the kayak or they're going to use the boat or these things. So thinking about where your home is and thinking about what the best use in the summertime is can really ultimately sell the house well. Don't forget, while you're out there staging all the outside areas, that during the summertime it's very common for us to go into the shed. Shed's a place that's kind of act as a catch-all in life. They end up being a place where you have the lawn furniture, you might have kids' toys, you might have a grill, you might have old dead parts from a car, old tires, all these things. So when you're getting your home ready to sell and you're staging everything, you're cleaning everything up, don't forget to take the shed into consideration. One thing I would suggest is take every single item out of the shed, clean it, sweep it down, blow it down, take out the dust bunnies from the roof, take out the cobwebs, all that stuff, and then put it all back in. But when you're putting it back in, think to yourself, between now and the next 30 to 60 days, am I going to use this? Because one of the failures in most people selling their home is the failure to commit to the sale. Why are you keeping items that are for next year or that you haven't used in 3 years when you're selling? Are you moving it to the next home? If you are, great. Put it in the moving section. Put it in the boxes. Move it to the next home if you already own it. Or donate, throw away, or give it to a family member. But stop leaving things like the set of tires that match the car that you had 3 cars ago because they have some value in them. They don't have any value. Either that or put it up on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or any of the others and get rid of it. But certainly don't leave it in there making the shed seem small, because I go into sheds far too often where the person doesn't mow their own lawn, so they don't have a lawnmower in there. They don't shovel their own driveway, so they don't have shovels in there. And what they have in there is a bunch of crap. And that crap in there tells the person that the shed's too small. And when the person looks in and there's not enough space, quote unquote, for a lawnmower or a shovel, they don't understand you hired out services and that's why you don't have one. They just figure you don't even have enough space for it. So you want to make sure, just like everywhere else that you're staging, you want to stage the shed to look right, which is you want to have a garden spreader, a shovel, rake, maybe a snow shovel, possibly a snow blower, your lawnmower, your leaf blower, your weed whacker, a little bit of a work area staged. Depending on the size of the shed, you just want to have it staged out so that the person can feasibly think, I can maintain my own piece of property. And then if you're in a condo and you don't have any of these things and these don't apply for you, but you do have common space, make sure to reach out to your neighborhood association and let them know. my condo is going to be for sale and I'd appreciate it if you could speak to the landscapers about taking better care of X, Y, and Z, or could you please have these bushes trimmed? Too often people stay quiet in condos and they don't actually reach out to the homeowners association when they're unhappy about something. The only people they talk to it about is family and friends, and they just complain about it and they don't actually make a move. You'd be surprised how often the homeowners association will actually help you out in these situations, because ultimately when you sell your home and get good money for your home, it's in the best consideration for everyone within the entire association. So if you are at a sensible place, they're going to understand if you want to get max money for your condo, then they need to help you out. And by you getting max money for your condo, it means that everyone else within that association in the future will get more money for it. So there's a lot of other advantages to the summer. One of the next ones is when you put your house up on the summer, you tend to move in the easiest weather. Reason being, you're going to be, if you put it up in July, you're going to be moving in the fall. And moving in the fall means the weather's going to be cooler. You're going to have less days of rain, because moving in the spring, like everyone likes to, well, let's be honest, spring showers bring May flowers. It's like, you're sitting there in a rainy day trying to move your stuff. The fall is a really great time to move. And when you list when other people aren't listing, you tend to be able to get better prices. When the moving company has every truck booked and everyone else has every whatever rental booked, you're most likely going to end up paying a little bit more for it. Whereas when you come in when other people aren't coming in, you end up being able to kind of cut a deal with them. So another one that I want you to think about is if you're selling in the summer, you don't know where you're going because you don't have a place to buy yet, you actually qualify yourself for the winter rentals and seasonal rentals. So depending on the area you're in, where we are here in Massachusetts, we have coastal places, but all throughout the country there's different things, houses on lakes, all these different places, but they look to rent from September all the way through, say, June. And they're most likely flexible as well. So when you reach out for a seasonal rental, you could say, I'm going to be shopping for a home. Whereas other rentals, you have to commit to a year. And then if you commit to a year, you find a house that you like, you end up having to buy your way out. Whereas in a seasonal rental, they may let you out early, or worst case scenario, you only have the two places for a few months, which isn't actually half bad, because when you have two places, you're able to slowly move and you're able to make the difference between. And the other thing is, if you end up in a seasonal rental, a lot of times you can find them furnished. So instead of taking your furniture, moving it to a rental, unpacking it, repacking it, you can just store it for the time between and get it into a storage facility and not open any of it except for the things that you absolutely need, like your clothing and things like that. Put it away, forget it, bring it out when you're at your next place. What's nice about that is, as we all know, moving furniture tends to beat it up. It tends to get scratched, dented, and dinged. And the other thing is it's costly and timely and physical. So getting yourself into the seasonal rental, having the furniture, being able to have the short period of time between the two is also a huge benefit. And then when you do move and you decide that you do want to do a situation where you're going to sell by, so you're going to sell by the fall and you're going to move right away, you can get into your new home and be set in and ready to go by the holidays. So that's a really nice thing, because, a lot of times if you're dealing with families or you're dealing with a lot of people within the household, it's kind of unsettling to be in between during times of the year where people want to celebrate, like the holidays. Doesn't matter which holidays you're celebrating, because they all pretty much fall throughout the month of November, December, and January. But at the end of the day, those are the big times of the year for children. They're also big times of the year for people who are sentimental, and you just don't want to be disrupting people's lifestyles at that time of the year. So then another part of the whole selling in the summer that I didn't go over before, but I think I should, is it's easiest to keep up the house at that time of the year. You can cook out on the barbecue. The family may go out to a lunch out on the beach, things like that. It's easier to entertain yourself where it's light all the way till 8, 9 o'clock at night. You can get out of the house and you can make the house available for those showings. Because one of the things you don't want to do, as I said earlier, if you're on vacation, you can get the showings within 24 hours to just a showing whenever. You don't want to turn down showings. It's crazy to me that people do it, but commonly people have reasons why they can't do a showing. So during the summer, it's pretty easy to go for a walk. It's pretty easy to go down the street. It's pretty easy to go over a friend's house. You may go to the local pool, might go to the beach. You might do a million different things, but during the summertime, it's easier to overall entertain yourself. I want to close out by saying there's really never a bad time of the year anymore to selling houses. The reality is we live in a different world. The world is tech-driven, and it works far differently than it used to. When it was about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was different then. People were very set on when they moved. They were very set on where they moved to. They wanted distances to cities. They wanted very specific items. Nowadays, we're seeing an equalization of the entire real estate marketplace. We're seeing numbers out in rural areas that we would have never seen before. We're seeing numbers in cities leveling off towards rural areas. The reason being is this tech-driven society means that you can move anywhere at any time and you can still work your same exact job. The other thing is we have more military brats than ever moving every which direction, and we also have more long-distance relocations for big companies. So you need to think about one of the main things is how to separate yourself from the marketplace and how to put your house there when you're going to be sitting out where there's not as much inventory. That way there, the buyers have not as many choices, meaning that your choice is going to be the right choice. And if you know anything about a supply and demand chart, when supply is down and demand is up, price increases. When supply rises and demand decreases because the supply is up, buyers buy, demand goes down, prices also follow suit. So you need to follow that simple rule of supply and demand and think about the way of separating yourself and realizing, again, the world has changed a lot. People are not so fixated on I can only move in the springtime, and people are moving year-round, 365. We see it right here in the office. We've moved people legitimately even on Christmas week nowadays, which back in the day would have been an unbelievable feat, and now it's become more common than ever. In a diverse world, you need to remember not everyone celebrates the same exact holidays, not everyone lives the exact same way, not everyone goes to public school systems, and the world is a changing place. If you want to sell your house fast and you want to sell it for the most money, reach out to us over here at Momentum Realty. We'd love to help you. Thanks for listening to the podcast this week. Remember to follow us. Also, make sure to reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or ideas for a future show. Thanks again and have a great week.